Good afternoon, everyone. It is Steve Lookner. This is our live news roundup show where we're going to talk about some latest news headlines today, get you updates, and take your comments while we're talking about the stories. We want to hear from you. So write to me during the broadcast. @Lookner on Twitter. That's where to reach me, @Lookner on Twitter. And thanks so much to our moderators. We got Sarah Joy and Angel Shark and Julian Phillips and Lizzie and Mark Helton. They are all moderating there. Linda Belk is moderating. Lisa Cushman. They're also moderating. Thank you, moderators. Bud Green is there moderating. Thank you. And we also have moderating. I think that's it for now. And then thanks to our viewers, we have viewers like Manuel Castillo. Manuel's in Goddard, Kansas. Deborah Martinez, Leela Barker, John Harvey, Robin Cherry. They're all watching. Dogs rule, cats drool. Tanya Strom, Brainy Janie, Nuri Chiri, who got their number 2 vaccine. Very nice. Jade Angel, Saint Soulsborne, Pippi Long, and others. Nancy G, UV Lightning, and others. Audrey Hoffman, Burbank, and Jessica Indico, Achia, Boca Negra. All right, let's get into the headlines. But again, you can write to me with your comments @Lookner on Twitter. Hey, I first want to do an update on this San Diego story. This San Diego car incident story. So you may have heard a story this morning that a car hit a bunch of people in San Diego. But this does not look like any kind of car attack or anything. It looks like an unfortunate incident where somebody ran into a bunch of people. It appears that it was a bunch of homeless people who were hit. So you can see it says, this is San Diego Union Tribune, 3 dead, others injured when a car runs up onto sidewalk near San Diego City College. But it is now being reported that the car struck a homeless encampment around 9 a.m. And they are looking into whether the driver was driving while impaired. It was a 71-year-old man driving. But unfortunate, very sad. 3 people were killed and several others injured when a car drove up onto a sidewalk often lined with homeless people in tents in a tunnel underneath San Diego City College. The driver stopped and tried to help the victims, a 71-year-old man. Police are looking into the possibility he was driving while impaired. This was just after 9 a.m. on B Street, west of 16th Street. Let's look up where this is. San Diego City College. We're going to find it on the map right here. There's B Street right there. And there's 16th Street. I bet that's the tunnel right there. Right here. I think that's it. See, it says San Diego City College. Then you have the tunnel. Ooh, I bet we can go down here. How do I get this person here? There. There's the tunnel. 3 people were dead, 5 people were injured, 2 critically, and a 6th person declined treatment. The victims appear to be homeless. People who are homeless often take shelter in the spot, and tents usually line the sidewalk there, more so given Monday's wet weather. Investigators combed the crash site. A dark-colored car, an old Volvo with a shattered windshield, sat in a tunnel. A bike tire was wedged underneath it. Shortly before the crash, police got a radio call of a possibly impaired driver in a car matching the one involved in the deadly crash. Terrible. Oh, there's the car right there. This is the San Diego Union Tribune. But they are looking into whether this is a driving while impaired incident. So again, this is does not look to be an intentional car attack. It's like a very sad incident, though. Doom Chaser says that is terrible for the victims and the driver. Jeff says, I was hit by an 83-year-old who had a heart attack many years ago. I was on business in Memphis when it happened. Again, they're looking into whether this person was impaired while driving. It sounds like maybe more people were under there because of the rainy weather. Dogs rule, cats rule says, surprised more homeless encampments aren't run over. In West Coast cities, they are camping next to busy streets and highways. Now, if you look at it also, there's not much. If the people were on the sidewalk here, I assume this is the sidewalk they were on right here. So it's not really set off from the road. Oh, now Jeff also says it hardly ever rains in San Diego. Wondered if that factored into the accident. That's a good question. I do wonder if it was. I guess they've been having rainy weather there lately. If the car skidded on because of the rain or something. If that's why they held with that San Diego weather. If that contributed to the loss of control of the car. See, rain. San Diego weather today. Rain. But yes, as Mark says, 71-year-old man. Let's see here. So certainly condolences to the families and friends of those people who died. Thoughts with those who were injured. But I wanted to update it because you might have heard the headline and thought, oh, it's some kind of attack or something, but it does not look to be an attack. Oh, by the way, just a little update here. I just saw Zero Hedge post about this. So Gamestop, remember Gamestop stock? It just went crazy up about a few weeks ago. From 20 to 400, and then it went back down to 40 or something, and then it went crazy up again without anything about the company fundamentally changing. Well, it's down 21% today. See, this is the stock chart. It was at about 20, and then it went up to 400, and then it went back down to 40 or so, and then all of a sudden it went up to 200. Actually, it went up to how high did it get in the last month? Yeah, it was 264. I think it was even higher than that a couple days ago. And now it's at 211. But again, nothing really changed about the fundamental business. It's become a popular stock to invest in online among certain investors, especially those who are participating in this group Wall Street Bets on Reddit. So I don't know what's going to happen with the stock, but it's very volatile. Oh, speaking of, what I should talk about? I want to talk about what happened with Bitcoin, with crypto. We should talk about that. Do you know India might ban cryptocurrency? Well, at least all of the ones you know of. They might have their own cryptocurrency, but all of the non-official cryptocurrencies, They might ban it all. It looks like they're going to. India has about a sixth of the world's population. Let me show you this. This is super interesting. India will propose a law banning cryptocurrencies, finding anyone trading in the country or even holding such digital assets. Fining anyone trading in the country or even holding the assets. You wouldn't even be allowed to have them. And you might think, oh, this is just a headline and there's no chance it's actually happening. No. If you read the stories on it, it looks like there's a decent chance of this actually happening. This is from Reuters. So if they ban cryptocurrency, then you won't be able to buy or hold Bitcoin or Dogecoin or any of these other cryptocurrencies. Besides, anything that they give it looks like they might want to leave it open that they could have an official, government approved cryptocurrency. But it looks like there's a decent chance of this happening. And again, India has about 1/6 of the population of the world. What is the India population? 1.366 billion. Might be more than 1 in 6. World population. Yeah, it's more than 1/6 of the world's population. Dr. Memes says that story is false. Why is the story false, Dr. Memes? What's false about it? What's false about the story? India will propose a law banning cryptocurrencies, fining anyone trading in the country or even holding such digital assets, a senior government official told Reuters, in a potential blow to millions of investors piling into the red-hot assets class. The bill, one of the world's strictest policies against cryptocurrencies, would criminalize possession, issuance, mining, trading, and transferring crypto assets, said the official who has a direct knowledge of the plan. The measure is in line with a January government agenda that called for banning private virtual currencies such as Bitcoin while building a framework for an official digital currency. Recent government comments had raised investors' hopes that the authorities might go easier on the booming market. Instead, the bill would give holders of cryptocurrencies up to 6 months to liquidate, after which penalties will be levied. Look at this. Officials are confident of getting the bill enacted into law, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government holds a comfortable majority in parliament. If the ban becomes law, India would be the first major economy to make holding cryptocurrency illegal. Even China, which has banned mining and trading, does not penalize possession. If it's underground, how does one ban it? Well, I think your question is, how does one enforce the ban? You can ban it. There's nothing stopping them from banning it. I think your question is, how do they enforce the ban? Well, I mean, that's you're saying, how would they tell if somebody has cryptocurrency, right? So I don't know. I mean, one thing I could see them doing is for example, there might be big crypto exchanges, and they might tell those, for example, crypto exchanges that operate in India, they might say, well, you have to report who owns this stuff or shut them down or something. I mean, yeah, that certainly is, a fair question of how they could tell, but I am not familiar with with the nuts and bolts of that whole world. But I could imagine there would be ways that that might help them figure out who has it. Now, maybe there would be ways for people to hide it from the government. But if you do that, you're taking a risk of them finding out. The Macaw lady says banning it will just force it underground even more. There was an interesting article about why they might want to ban it. I want to show you something about this too. Hang on a second here. Some of the reasons I remember are things like, first of all, they might feel like it's like a huge financial risk for the company. If too many people are putting all this money into this volatile investment, which could just crash at a moment's notice, they might not think that's good for the country and think it poses a serious financial risk to the country. That's one reason. Another reason is it could help people avoid taxes. Think about this: like if you buy and sell stuff in Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin. There's a public ledger online of who owns what Bitcoin, but it doesn't identify the owners by name. It basically identifies you by an identification number. So there's no way, like, if I go and pay for something with my credit card, there's a record of that, right? If I write a check, there's a record of that the government could, in theory, have access to. If I pay somebody for Bitcoin and they give me something, I don't believe there's any way for the government to figure, unless we tell them, there's no way for the government to figure out who paid whom. So there's a whole tax avoidance thing. There's a worry about that. There's worries also about the money being used for illegal activities, Bitcoin, because again, the government there's no way for the government to track who's giving it to who and who has how much, by name and identify people. Let's see. I read this. Let me show you. This was an interesting article. This was from Quartz India, Why India's Central Bank Has No Faith in Cryptocurrencies. Just to give you a sense of some of the reasons they might have for not liking this stuff. Bitcoin is, why is Bitcoin still viewed with suspicion in India? It says in an interview in February with CNBC TV 18, the Federal Reserve Governor of India said the central bank has certain major concerns about cryptocurrency and its impact on financial stability. And again, so this is we're talking about this because a Reuters report says that India will be proposing a law which has a decent chance of passing of banning cryptocurrencies in the country, at least the ones not affiliated with the government. At least government, not ones that aren't government approved. Bitcoin. So why might India be concerned about cryptocurrencies? Bitcoin is volatile. It says, sure, there's a grain of truth to the claim that cryptocurrencies are rivals of central banks as they are unable to control them like sovereign money. So the Indian government can't control, like, for example, the supply of Bitcoin the way it can control the supply of Indian currency. It says here, the concerns raised by the governor of the Indian Federal Reserve aren't completely unfounded. For instance, Bitcoin is a speculative bet, it says. Bitcoin does not derive its value from any assets or earnings. Hence, the value depends purely on what an investor is willing to pay for it. As a result, its price can be easily swayed. Let's see. This kind of volatility, this kind of tendency to have giant price swings is obviously risky for retail investors. Retail investors, think of retail investors as individual investors, people investing with their own money. People at home, not some big professional investor, people at home buying and selling Bitcoin. This kind of volatility is obviously risky for retail investors who don't have deep pockets to hold on to their losses. And the volatility isn't exclusive to Bitcoin. Other virtual currencies have similar trajectory. So one concern the Indian government has, according to this article, is that you have people putting a significant amount of money into something that they could just lose really fast, which could pose a risk to the financial system of the country. Money laundering and security concerns. Another major concern for India's central bank is the anonymity that virtual currencies offer to their investors. While the record of Bitcoins is kept on an open ledger, the identity of the owner is concealed. You might be able to look up on the Bitcoin ledger and see who owns how many Bitcoin, but the who will just be like some kind of identifying number, like a user number. It won't tell you the name of the person. This can create problems for financial institutions to track the flow of money, and hence cryptocurrencies could be used to transfer illegal money or evade taxes. Think about this as well. Say I'm a plumber. Say I'm a plumber and I take my payment in Bitcoin. Not that plumbers do that, but suppose I'm a plumber and I have everybody pay me in Bitcoin. Well, there's no way for the Indian government, if I'm a plumber in India and everybody pays me in Bitcoin, there's no way for them to track how much people are paying me. So, it's kind of like getting paid in cash. But it's like, there's no record, so I could just not declare that income. So you can imagine if people start getting, that's one example of a way somebody could evade taxes, is they just say, well, pay me in Bitcoin for my work, and I'll just never declare it, and there's no record that'll allow the government to find out how much I got paid this year. That would be one example. Because of the misuse of virtual currency, security is also a grave concern. While it's impossible to tamper with the actual ledger or key of digital coins, they can be stolen from the wallet of exchanges, which has happened in the past in India across the world. A lot of people keep their Bitcoins stored in these with exchanges, which is like a site that allows people to buy and sell Bitcoins, or hold them in digital wallets, and in theory, those things could be hacked. So again, so the two basic concerns raised in this article are the risk posed, the financial risk posed by having so many people investing money in this very volatile asset, which could crash at a moment's notice, and also security, money laundering, tax evasion, those kind of concerns over the Bitcoins being anonymous, basically, who owns them, and being impossible for the government to track the flow of Bitcoins and track who's owning them and who's giving them away and who's getting them. So I'll be interested to see if this actually happens. But this is, again, it's over 1/6 of the world's population. Let me take some comments from you on this. But I find this story super interesting. C. Michelle Spark says, I hear people are buying drugs from Mexico with Bitcoin. 408 blocks under says, India wants to control the direction of crypto to benefit them. Any arguments on using crypto for criminal activity is nebulous. All money is used by good or bad people. Well, but surely you would admit, 40 blocks under, that if somebody tried to pay for, that different types of money are differently able to be tracked. If I paid somebody by check for something illegal, it would be there would be a record of that the government could easily find. If I use a credit card to buy things, if I use somebody else's credit card number to buy things for myself, there's going to be a record of that. But 40 blocks under thinks that they want to benefit themselves. Now, if you just mean benefit themselves, if you just mean, get more tax revenue, that in theory benefits the country too, remember. Recyclops says, don't people use crypto to buy illegal stuff from China anonymously? C. Michelle Sparks says, government wants its cut. Letter Artist says, it sounds like it's all about the government not getting their piece of the pie. Hey, thanks Angel Shark for your support. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Our viewer Blank Cover Plate says prices of Bitcoin could see a decent drop over concerns. Bitcoin went down about $5,000 yesterday, and I saw an article saying it might have been due to this concerns over this India story. Here, look. Bitcoin retreats from record high amid report of Indian crypto ban. This is from Yahoo Finance. Bitcoin was in retreat on Monday after hitting a record high over the weekend. It broke through it got to 61,600, and then it went down to 56,000 or so, which it is around now, I believe. The price decline came amid reports that India could ban cryptocurrencies altogether, potentially cutting off one of the biggest markets in the world. And the broader cryptocurrency ecosystem was in decline on Monday morning. The crypto market was down 4.5% over 24 hours. Nigel Green, chief executive and founder of a financial advisory group, DeVere, said regulation was likely to become an increasing concern for Bitcoin and the wider crypto market. Whether crypto cynics like it or not, there's no getting away from the fact that Bitcoin is becoming an increasingly important part of the global financial system, he said. The move toward digital currencies is going to increase and at pace over the next few years. This is why financial regulators must now make regulation of the crypto sector a major priority. So I'll also be interested to see what other governments do about regulating Bitcoin. I should look up the state of U.S. regulations on it. Let me look that up. Hang on one sec here. One of our viewers said Tokyo earthquake, but the only earthquake I see recently is a 4.8. And that's not very high. Eastern Honshu, Japan. So I'm not going to report on that because it's a 4.8. That's from EMSC. Here, look at this. What's next for crypto regulation in the U.S.? The rules are in flux as a new U.S. administration takes over. This is from New York Times. This is from end of January. Blah, blah, blah. The basic overarching issue is that digital asset innovation has outpaced our regulatory framework, said Timothy Masad of Harvard. It is not problematic, he said, unless regulators wait for a crisis and then respond in a rush, which they often do. Okay, I'm not familiar with this whole area, this whole topic area of regulation of cryptocurrency. So I'm interested to see what kind of regulations you might see around the world. "40 blocks under" says, one thing you should know is that Bitcoin and founding philosophies behind cryptocurrency is to overstep government control over value in fiat currency and banks. So I understand that, you know, one of the fundamental ideas of Bitcoin is to have a currency that's not controlled by an individual government. You know, no individual government controls, or no governments together control the supply and the supply of Bitcoin, for example. It's not, you know, I get so I understand what you're saying, but if any government sees a lot of financial activity going on in crypto, no government's going to want to have a significant percentage of financial activity going on that they don't know about. And as we talked about, there's the various reasons we discussed before. That could allow like huge tax evasion. It could allow much more illegal activity to happen where it's not able to be, there's no way to track it. So you can see the reasons why, and also if cryptocurrency is volatile and lots of people are investing in it, that could pose a serious financial risk for the country. So you can see these reasons why governments might be wary of it. Also, just like capital gains taxes, you know, if you buy some Bitcoin and then you make money on it and you sell it, the next year. In the U.S., for example, there's capital gains taxes. If you make money on investments, you have to declare the income and you have to pay tax on it. But if the government can't track who owns which Bitcoin, then you can just not declare it and they'll have no way for you to know, right? In theory, it could really take money out of if it allows for large scale tax evasion, it could take a lot of money out of government's pockets, and they're not going to want that to happen. I hear Cricket says, if a lot of people are evading taxes, the government will just find another way to tax you. Low Roller Scratcher says, South Korea wants to tax crypto. I've seen some articles. Here's an article from today from Cointelegraph. South Korea deepens probe on tax evasion via cryptocurrencies. South Korea's tax authorities going after individuals hiding their assets in cryptocurrencies as a way of avoiding tax payments. The National Tax Service of South Korea is increasing its efforts to combat tax evasion and is now focusing on the use of cryptocurrencies for such illicit activities. According to the Korea Herald, the tax agency has identified more than 2,400 tax evaders who used cryptocurrencies to hide assets worth over $32 million from the government. This is interesting. As part of its investigations, the Korean Tax Service worked with crypto exchanges in the country to obtain detailed customer trading reports. Given the tightly regulated crypto space in South Korea, digital currency trading is only possible via real name accounts tied to banks and other financial institutions. That's interesting. I don't know this. I don't know what the laws are there. It sounds like from this article that in South Korea, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you have to create like a Bitcoin trading account with your real name on the account. And it says exchanges in South Korea may soon begin to face stiff penalties for non-compliance with customer identification laws. Because in theory, with Bitcoin, the network only identifies you with like an identification number. So there's no way to track. You can say person number, blah, 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 owns this much Bitcoin, but you don't know who the person is. But in South Korea, they're saying, no, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you need to have your real name attached to the account so that we can figure out how much you have. So it sounds like there's more regulation there. I don't know what it's like in the U.S. Then this was from February, Cointelegraph. South Korea fast tracks 20% tax on Bitcoin and crypto profits to 2022. South Korea will implement a 20% tax on Bitcoin and crypto profits. Profits made from both trading and holding cryptocurrencies will be subject to the tax. But you might say, how are they going to know how much you have? But again, it looks like in South Korea, if you're legally, you're legally required to, if you trade in crypto, to have a real name attached to the account so the government can tell who you are. That's interesting. Chris says you can tell when poor people are starting to make money in a novel way when it starts getting regulated to a non-functional state. Jeff Haas says stuff like this is going to cause people to sell. It's a really interesting question. If there's more regulation like this, how's it going to affect the price of these things? Well, also, if countries start banning it, hey, thank you, Patrick Davis, for your support. Patrick Davis says so much for NFTs. Now, NFTs aren't currency. They're like these digital collectibles, but they're bought and sold with cryptocurrency. And the record of them is kept on similar blockchain networks that keeps the record of who owns how much cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about more NFT stuff a little later. Oh, thank you, Katie Beth, for the super heart. Nikki's It's My Time says, what about cash can't be tracked? So now let me say this. So you might wonder, like, well, how, like, isn't this a problem with cash, right? Because cash, in theory, you can't track. Well, if somebody puts cash in a bank account, you can track it, right? So now, if people if people want to hold large amounts of cash and not have it tracked, you basically have to hold it at home. Because if you make like deposits at a bank above a certain amount, I think they have to report it. And obviously, if you have a bank account, they would report that. So I think with my initial thought is that with cryptocurrency, it would be much easier to hold and transact in large amounts of money with cryptocurrency than cash, right? If you wanted to like spend give somebody $2 million in cash, well, you actually have to have the bills, and you have to store it somewhere, and then you have to give it to them. Now you can do all that. But you have to physically bring it somewhere and give it to them, and so there's that aspect of it. Whereas it's much more convenient and easy if you just do it with Bitcoin, just do it on your computer, So I could think of reasons why, even though cash is in theory, in principle, not traceable, it would be much more difficult to transact using physical cash than Bitcoin. Oh, thank you, James Jones. Hey, James Jones, that's very kind of you. I appreciate your donation and also your kind words. James Jones, thank you, James. That's very nice of James. Thank you. I also owe a thank you to Richard Cates. Richard Cates, thanks so much, Richard. I really appreciate your support. Thank you, Richard and James Jones. Very nice of you both. Lab Golden says Elon likes it. He also invests in it. Davey Z says to use the Bitcoin ATM. There are some Bitcoin ATMs. To use the Bitcoin ATM, I have to insert my state ID in to deposit the cash. The central scrutinizer on Twitch says, I use a regulated exchange with all my tax info in the US. Now, I don't know how it works. Like, I know, like, for example, I would assume if you own a you can buy and sell crypto on Robinhood. But you have to, I'm sure that on Robinhood to open up an account, you have to give like their tax ID number. So there's a record of all that. So if you're in the US and you want to buy crypto, I don't know this, like the major exchanges that you might use. An exchange, from my understanding, is a place where like you can go online where you can buy and sell crypto. In the US, are the major exchanges ones where you have to like give them an ID to open it up, kind of thing? Neo Boothis said, check Twitter. I sent you a link to Coinbase on what is required to open an account there. Hold on. I am not seeing. At Lookner on Twitter is where you can write to me. I'm not seeing that message the person sent me. Who is this? Neo Boothis? Neo Boothis, I'm not seeing your message. But I can look it up. How to open a Coinbase account. Coinbase. Get started. A government-issued photo ID. Then so Coinbase, which allows you to invest, trade, and store supported cryptocurrencies on Coinbase, you do need to attach a name to that account. So I assume if you wanted to keep it really secret from the government, you couldn't use, well, you obviously couldn't use something like Coinbase. Assuming that Coinbase has an agreement where if the government requested information, they would give it to them. Berlin Live says, I don't trust crypto. Jeff Haas says, Coinbase tracks this stuff and will send you a 1099. Rita says, what was the news about Bitcoin? Well, what got us started on all of this is I was talking about this story that came out yesterday/today that India is going to propose banning cryptocurrency, at least non-government affiliated cryptocurrency. So you can rewind and watch that. But that's how we got into this whole discussion. And according to the article, there's a decent chance of this actually passing. Dark FJ3 says Bitcoin is the #1 money laundering service on the dark deep web. Seen it firsthand. But I've seen this point made recently in different articles, and it's a fair point. It's different than like a stock. Think about an auto company. If you think about the value, you have the stock price of a company, and ultimately the price is just what people will pay for it. The price value of a certain car company is just what people will buy and sell for. That's what determines the price on the market. But at a fundamental level, if it's a car company, well, they build cars and they sell cars and they make a certain amount of profit. So there's, if the company is profitable or it's going to be profitable, then it will have value to people, then regardless of what even if the stock price goes way down, somebody is going to look at if it's making a profit, it's going to have value to people, and the stock price is going to go up. Because if you'll be investing in this company that's going to be making a profit, it's going to make money for people. So underlying the stock price, say of a car company, is the cars they make, the profits they make, or the chance they have to make profit in the future. That doesn't, and that's the same for any company that makes something, that kind of thing. That's different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't make anything. You can't point to it and say, oh, they're going to make a profit, because that's not what it's just. Bitcoin is a virtual currency. So the value is, there's nothing undergirding that value except whether people think it's valuable. Doesn't mean it can't be valuable. If everybody decides it's valuable, if everybody decides like that's what we want to have, then it can have a high price. And if everybody around the world is convinced like Bitcoin's the thing to have, it's really important, it's valuable, then it can have a high price. But it's just there's nothing there's nothing to once if it starts going down. Unlike a car company, if a car company starts going down, you can point at it and say, well, look, they're selling all these cars, they have these great new models, they're going to be making profits. But with Bitcoin, you can't point at that once it starts going down. So if people just change their minds about it, then you could have a huge, fast crash in Bitcoin. GamerQuest says just like gold. Well, the thing about gold, though, is yes, in a sense, if everybody woke up tomorrow and decided, oh, if everybody woke up tomorrow and thought of gold like dirt, or thought of gold like a typical rock you see outside, yeah, the price wouldn't stay up. Gold has a history, though, of being used as this valuable metal. So you might say, well, culturally speaking, the valuing of gold by humans is so ingrained that you're much less likely to suddenly see the price of gold drop than you are to see the price of Bitcoin drop. And Still Kicking says, same with real currency. Sure, I mean, if everybody in the United States decided tomorrow that they didn't want to accept dollars for payment and they didn't think dollars were worth anything, they wouldn't be worth anything. But again, there's a lot less chance of that happening than people starting to think that Bitcoin isn't worth much. Anyways, well, we have other stories to talk about, so. We'll talk about other things. But again, so I'm gonna certainly be paying attention. I think if India, which has roughly 1/6 of the world's population, if India bans cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, I think that's a really big deal. But where was it? Where was that here? Where was that headline? So I'm certainly going to keep up on this story. I think it'll be a huge deal if it happens, and it looks like it might happen, according to Reuters. So we'll be keeping an eye on this story. Nicole Wilson says gold has valuable physical properties. Yes, Nicole Wilson, gold has valuable physical properties, but I don't think the average person who is putting their money into gold is putting in their money into gold because of those physical, because it has industrial uses. I think the average person who puts their money in gold as a safe haven thinks that it'll maintain its value because other people think it's valuable, not because other people will want to use it in their industrial applications. Gold having industrial usage would give it some value, but I don't think it would justify the price it has, because so many people just see it as a precious metal where you can store your money safely. Saranya, I don't think China has banned owning Bitcoin. They've banned mining it, I know. It says it in here. China banned mining and trading. So China banned mining and trading, but it does not penalize possession. That's interesting. Regulation of cryptocurrency, China. The government, from Library of Congress, the government of China has taken a series of regulatory measures to crack down on activities related to cryptocurrencies for purposes of investor protection and financial risk prevention. These measures include announcing that initial coin offerings are illegal, restricting the primary business of cryptocurrency trading platforms, and discouraging Bitcoin mining. I don't know the exact current rules there in China. Okay. Man United says, I'll stick to my gold coins better than a digital number. I like something to hold. Oh, thanks also to, hey, I really appreciate it, Mike Solanke. Hey, thank you, Mike Solanke, for your support of the channel. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Mike Solanke. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on to a different story now. Although I kind of want to, we should talk about the NFT story next. Let's talk about the NFT story. That's really interesting. We spent a lot of time, the live news updates are becoming all about crypto and NFTs. But let me first thank our moderators. We have Mark Helton and Julian Phillips and Lizzie and Sarah Joy and Angel Shark and Sarah 55. Thank you. Also, Linda Belk has been there moderating in Periscope. Thank you. Thanks to our Twitch and Facebook moderators, too. Idaho Star and Tariag are moderating. Bud Green is moderating, too. Kim Hardy says, I'll stick to my silver and copper coins and bars. Okay. Hang on. There's a very interesting... Oh, Robin Cherry. Hey, thank you, Robin, for the Facebook stars. I appreciate that, Robin. Silent Wolf writes in and says, when you sign up for crypto exchanges that are, quote, legal in the U.S., you have to provide bank account, SSN, and photo ID. Now, I don't know what percentage of people, hold it out, not on these crypto exchanges. Thank you, Silent Wolf. Okay. I want to talk about the NFT stuff that happened. Hang on. I also just got to check also. Oh, look. Maybe, should we talk about the Astrazeneca stuff first? I just saw this. Nick Beek says Belgium bucks the trend, doesn't follow France, Germany, Italy, but instead continues to give out the Astrazeneca vaccine. Darren McCaffrey says, the Belgium health minister says it would be irresponsible to stop vaccination for the AstraZeneca. For us, the balance is clear and clean. It's a race against time. Adds, given the number of cases in Belgium, cannot afford to interrupt the vaccination rollout. So what's happened is a number of countries, including a number of countries in Europe in recent days, have temporarily stopped giving out the AstraZeneca vaccine because of concerns over health issues, specifically blood clots. Now, I have not seen any convincing, as far as I'm aware, there is no convincing evidence whatsoever that the AstraZeneca vaccine causes blood clots or any other serious issue. I have seen no information. I have seen not a single report that, for example, that more people are getting blood clots who've taken the vaccine than would normally get it who haven't taken the vaccine. I mean, people unfortunately get blood clots. So give enough people the vaccines and they're going to get the same health problems as other people. If you give hundreds of millions of the vaccine, some people are going to die after taking the vaccine. Some people are going to get blood clots after taking the vaccine because people die and get blood clots and get other health problems anyway. So I have not seen a single report that says, for example, blood clots are more prevalent in people who've taken the vaccines than not. There's that. So the WHO came out a couple days ago and said that they hadn't seen any evidence to suggest that the vaccines that the AstraZeneca vaccine was causing blood clots. A European Medicines Board came out a couple days ago and said the same thing. It seems to me that there's, I'll just say this. I'm not aware of any compelling evidence whatsoever that suggests that the Astrazeneca vaccine is causing people to have significantly more blood clots than they would without taking it. I'm waiting for it. I will certainly report that if I see it. And then I actually think, and there's a couple of harms that happen if a country bans a vaccine that's actually safe. One harm is that, well, people who would have gotten vaccinated don't get vaccinated, and they wait to get vaccinated, and then people can get sick and die of the vaccine of the virus in the meantime. That's one problem. But also, I think there's a huge problem anytime a country comes out and says, hey, we're pausing giving the Astrazeneca vaccine for 2 weeks because we're investigating whether it causes blood clots. A lot of people hear that and they just say, oh, it's unsafe because it causes blood clots. People don't, they see a headline and they immediately, they don't get this idea that a government might just want to that a government could pause giving out the vaccine when in fact the vaccine is perfectly safe. So there's a real, when governments come out and say, we're pausing the vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine, because we're investigating whether it makes blood clots, regardless that they haven't determined that yet, and whether they have any good evidence for that, just the fact that they come out and they say we're stopping it for like 15 days, that increases vaccine hesitancy. Among people who might, in particular, maybe among people who might already be hesitant to take it, which will ultimately result in fewer people getting vaccinated, which will result in more people getting sick. So you can see here, though, Darren McCaffrey says, Belgian health minister says it would be irresponsible to stop vaccine with AstraZeneca. For us, the balance is clear and clean. It's a race against time. Adds, given the number of cases in Belgium, cannot afford to interrupt the vaccine rollout. Experts quoted by Belgian TV added, even a temporary suspension of this vaccination could only have harmful effects on the COVID vaccination in general. The post-vaccine thromboembolic phenomena. This is blood clots, I believe. Thromboembolic phenomena. Thromboembolism, formation of in a blood vessel of a clot, thrombus. So the experts quoted by Belgian TV added, that the post-vaccine blood clots are present in the same order of frequency as with the Pfizer vaccine. So these experts on Belgian TV said they haven't seen any more blood clots with the AstraZeneca vaccine than with the Pfizer vaccine. And then also, they said on Belgian TV, we are indeed expecting plus or minus 150 blood clot cases over 6 weeks in a population of 5.5 million vaccinated in the EU, and there are currently only about 30 cases reported, including Belgian cases. So again, people have health problems. They get blood clots, they die, they get other health problems, whether they're taking the vaccine or not. So there's a certain number, if you give the vaccine to a certain number of people, there's a certain number of blood clots you'd expect to happen. I have seen nothing. I have not seen a single report saying that people taking the AstraZeneca vaccine are getting more blood clots than people who don't take the vaccine. Not a single one. Then here's another post I saw today about this whole concern over the blood clots. Kai Kupferschmidt, who's a science journalist, he has a quote from the WHO. The WHO Assistant Director General for Access to Medicines, Vaccines, and Pharmaceuticals. She said, what we can say so far, it doesn't look like there are more cases of blood clots among people who've taken the AstraZeneca vaccine than would be expected for the period in the general population. From data so far, there is not an increasing number of cases of blood clot events. So basically what she's saying is whether or not people take vaccines, you'd expect a certain number of people to get blood clots. And she's saying the data does not show that any more people get blood clots who've taken the AstraZeneca vaccine than would have been getting it otherwise. That's the Assistant Director General for the WHO. So until somebody presents me, given all of the testing that's been done on the Astrazeneca vaccine, until somebody prevents me with, say, compelling statistical evidence that way more people are getting blood clots having taken the AstraZeneca vaccine than the people who don't take it, or than the number of people who would have expected to get it otherwise. Or also, until somebody presents some compelling explanation of why the AstraZeneca vaccine would be causing blood clots, what the mechanism would be, I'm going to assume there's nothing to this concern, and it's basically hysteria, and it's completely unwarranted to actually stop giving people these things. That's going to be my assumption, unless I'm happy to change my mind if I'm presented with good evidence. But I keep seeing experts say over and over and over again, there's no more people who are getting blood clots than you'd expect to be getting them anyway. And again, there's a double harm from countries not suspending giving out the vaccine. There's the harm that comes from not getting people vaccinated and then putting them at risk to get the virus and either have a serious disease or die. But there's also the harm of if a country comes out and says, we're stopping giving out this vaccine, it makes more people vaccine hesitant, and it's going to be harder to get them vaccinated. I want to take some comments from you guys on this, but that's my thoughts on the whole AstraZeneca thing. Again, no evidence. A couple more countries, I think it was Germany and Spain, came out today and said they were pausing giving out the AstraZeneca vaccine. But again, I've heard no compelling evidence that it's causing blood clots, or even that more people are getting blood clots who've taken the vaccine than otherwise. This is the headline from DW today. Germany suspends use of AstraZeneca vaccine, along with Italy, France, and Spain. I'm pretty darn sure that in a couple of weeks, you'll have all these countries come out and they'll say, hey, you know what? We investigated it. We didn't find a causal link. Now we can give it out again. I am pretty certain that that's what's going to happen. EMA the European Medicines Agency is going to meet on it. It says, the EMA says it will hold a special conference on Thursday to conclude its assessment of the vaccine. The EMA said today, the European Medicines Agency, EMA currently remains of the view that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine in preventing COVID-19 with the risk of hospitalization and death from COVID-19 outweigh the risks of side effects. And then here's somebody, this is a DW, quotes this virologist and associate professor at Northumbria University in the UK, Sergio Machos. And he told DW, what we know is that 17 million people have received the AstraZeneca vaccine and 37 people have developed these blood clots. That corresponds to 0.0002% of actually anybody that has been vaccinated getting a blood clot. And he says he would take the vaccine right away if it was offered to him. And the article really should mention, I think the thing that the article left out, which they should mention, is that this number is not an increase over the normal number of people who you'd expect to get blood clots anyway. That's what I'm guessing. They really should say that in the article. M. Richardson said would not be blocked for no reason. I agree that they wouldn't suspend it for no reason, but the reason doesn't have to be that there's good evidence that it causes blood clots. One reason could be that a political reason. It could be a political reason. They might think there's politics reasons to suspend it. Maybe they think they'll get criticized for not going along with it or make the government look bad. I don't know. But again, there's all kinds of, surely there's a reason to suspend it, because they wouldn't just suspend it they wouldn't like say, hey, I have a fun idea, let's suspend giving out this vaccine. But there can be reasons other than that there's good evidence that it causes blood clots. And I think there isn't good evidence, because I've heard of no good evidence that it causes blood clots. So my guess is that there are other reasons. Maybe it's CYA, cover your butt. But the problem is when they do this, I think people will think like our viewer, oh, well, they're doing it, they wouldn't suspend it unless there's something wrong with the vaccine. A lot of people will think that, and that's a huge cost of suspending these things. Alibaba says the reason is the cases were grouped. A cluster is what they call it. Look, so I don't know the specifics here. All I can tell you is I've seen nothing about that there's more numbers getting this than would be expected otherwise. And if there were cases clustered in a way that our normal incidences of blood clots never clustered, I don't know. Karen Brody thinks it's politics. Let me show you more about this. Then we'll take some more comments. I wonder if there's an article in like Science Mag. They have any article about this? It would be good to see like a science-y article about it. Here, Washington Post, why countries are halting the Astrazeneca shot. It's Associated Press. At least a dozen countries have temporarily suspended their use of the Astrazeneca virus after reports last week that some people in Denmark and Norway who got a dose developed blood clots, even though there's no evidence that the shot was responsible. And again, a certain number of people would get blood clots anyway. The European Medicines Agency and the World Health Organization say the data available don't suggest the vaccine caused the clots and that people should continue to be immunized. Denmark was the first country to halt its use of the vaccine after reports of blood clots in some people, including one person who developed multiple clots and died 10 days after receiving at least one dose. The Danish health authorities said they would suspend the vaccine for at least 2 weeks, even as they noted it cannot be concluded whether there is a link between the vaccine and the blood clots. Norwegian authorities reported 4 people under age 50 who had gotten the AstraZeneca vaccine had an unusually low number of blood platelets. That could lead to severe bleeding. After saying they would continue with the vaccine last week, German officials said Monday they would suspend its use after fresh reports of new problems. In response to the suspension of its vaccine, AstraZeneca said it had carefully reviewed the data on 17 million people who had received doses across Europe and found there were 37 cases of people who developed blood clots. It said there was no evidence of an increased risk of blood clots in any age group or gender in any country. They said the number of people who had gotten blood clots is much lower than would be expected to occur naturally in a general population of this size and is similar across other licensed COVID vaccines. Is there any proof the vaccine is responsible? No. The European Medicines Agency says there is no indication that vaccination has caused these conditions. The EMA is convening its expert safety committee Tuesday, tomorrow, and will hold another meeting Thursday. In Britain, where 11 million doses of the vaccine have been administered, there have been reports of about 11 people who developed blood clots after getting a shot. None were proven to have been caused by the vaccine. Some doctors pointed out that since vaccination campaigns started by giving doses to the most vulnerable people, those people now being immunized are more likely to already have health problems. Experts say that could make it difficult to determine whether a vaccine is responsible. Why did they stop vaccination? Anytime vaccines are rolled out widely, scientists expect some serious health issues and deaths to be reported. Simply because millions of people are receiving the shots and problems would be expected to occur randomly in a group so large, even if they weren't taking the vaccine. The vast majority of these end up not being connected to the vaccine. But because COVID vaccines are still very experimental and there's no long-term data, scientists must investigate every possibility that the shot could have unforeseen side effects. Okay. So again, I'm aware of no statistical information that says more people are getting blood clots who've taken the Astrazeneca vaccine than we would be normally expected to get it anyway. All right, I want to read some more. Let me get some comments from you guys on this. Hey, thanks, by the way, to N. Lee for your support. I appreciate it. N. Lee, thank you, N. Lee. Thanks so much. Thank you also to Duster Singer for your support. Oh, thank you, Duster. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate it. Duster Singer, thank you. All right, let me take some comments from you guys. First of all, let me plug in my iPad. Let me know what you think about this whole AstraZeneca thing. At Lookner on Twitter. Nate Skate says it was going to happen anyway, case closed. STP says a lack of evidence doesn't prove it doesn't exist. But if there's no reason, so the scientists understand what's in the vaccine, and they have no reason to think that what's in the vaccine would cause blood clots. So the burden is going to be on the person who's trying to show it causes blood clots, right? So, I mean, there's good reason to think it doesn't cause blood clots because it's been tested on so many people already and that hasn't emerged, and the scientists know what's in the vaccine and have a good idea about whether that would be expected to cause blood clots. So, if there's a lack of evidence, given a lack of evidence plus scientists knowing what's in the vaccine and whether that tends to cause blood clots, plus all of the testing, all of the vaccine that's been given out so far, and the blood clots not appearing in problematic numbers, that strongly suggests that doesn't cause blood clots. So given all we know about the vaccines already and all the scientists know, then to change the view that it doesn't cause blood clots would require some strong evidence that it does. Because there's a bunch of reasons, good reasons to think it doesn't. John, I'm timing you out. John Curry has a nutty conspiracy theory that the WHO is not telling truth about the vaccines because they own stock in the vaccine companies. That's John Curry's cuckoo nutty conspiracy theory. John, post something like that again, you're out. Last warning. No more nutty conspiracy theories. Take it to the crazy, nutty, kooky conspiracy theory channel. Not in my chat room. Go somewhere else. The McCall lady says, our son just qualified for the vaccine today. Now just got to find him an appointment. Recyclops says, doesn't make sense for these countries to act based on this info. What is going on? I don't really understand. My guess is maybe there's political considerations here. I just think it's bad because when countries ban these things, there's a significant cost. When they temporarily suspend giving out the vaccines, there's a significant cost to that. Aaron Weirdo says, what happened with Marvin Hagler? Did he die of blood clot? I don't know what happened with Marvin Hagler, but I've heard no reliable reporting. So Tommy Hearns, who's a boxer, claimed with no evidence presented that Marvin Hagler was sick because of a reaction to the vaccine. I don't consider that a reliable report when Tommy Hearns, a boxer, says that and presents no evidence about it. As to what Marvin Hagler's cause of death was, let's see here. Marvin Hagler's wife says it wasn't the vaccine that caused his death. News 1. Kay Hagler is speaking out and attempting to set the record straight about her husband's cause of death. What is News 1, by the way? It is a latest news from a black perspective. Do they have a link to her, like, Instagram or something? Let's see. It says Marvin Hagler's wife. Oh, hold on a second here. Here it is. Marvin Hagler Fan Club. I would like to speak with my heart to all of you. I apologize if my English is not written correctly, but I hope everyone understands me in this difficult moment. After 31 years, the love of my life is gone, and my life without him no longer makes sense. For sure, it wasn't the vaccine that caused his death. Marvin Hagler's wife says for sure it wasn't the vaccine that caused his death. She says, I do not accept to read some stupid comment without knowing what really happened. So that's what his wife says. I hadn't seen that. See if I can, let's see. I'm going to post that if nobody else has posted. Was that today? This is from today. This is from today. I'm going to post this. For sure wasn't the vaccine that caused his death. Okay. 66 he was. Marvin Hagler's wife, Kay. For sure wasn't the vaccine that caused his death. She says, my baby left in peace and with his usually smile. She says her English isn't that great. And now is not the time to talk nonsense. Oops, don't want to do that. There you go. I'm glad you asked about that because I hadn't seen that post yet. Thanks for asking about that. There you go. So that's what Marvin Hagler's wife says. Hey, thanks, Don Teller, for your support. I appreciate that, Don. Thank you, Don Teller. All right, I want to read some more. I want to read some more comments from you. Norma Starr says, claiming something without rationale or evidence to support the claim is blatantly irresponsible. Underdog Rising says the political reasons could be that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine is German and the Astrazeneca vaccine is from the UK. I hope that would not be why countries would be suspending the AstraZeneca vaccine. This is from the Telegraph, UK. Should Britons be worried if they have had the AstraZeneca jab? The numbers suggest not. According to the charity Thrombosis, which is Blood Clot UK, up to 1 in 1,000 people each year will experience a dangerous blood clot in a vein, known as a venous thrombosis. This means about 66,000 people in Britain might be expected to suffer a blood clot annually, or 1269 a week. According to AstraZeneca, there have been 15 events of deep vein thrombosis and 22 events of pulmonary embolism reported among those given the vaccine so far across EU and UK. The company estimates that 17 million AstraZeneca vaccines have been delivered in that time. That means that the risk of suffering from a DVT or PE after vaccination is 37 in 17 million, or roughly 1 in 460,000. At the current prevalence rate, in a population of 17 million, we might expect 326 cases to naturally show up among the 17 million people who have taken the vaccine. So 37 starts to look very low. Dr. Peter English, the immediate past chair of the BMA Public Health Medicine Committee, said, when a vaccine is administered to millions of people, it is inevitable that some adverse effects, which would have happened anyway, still happen shortly after vaccination. It is most regrettable that countries have stopped vaccination on such precautionary grounds. It risks doing real harm to the goal of vaccinating enough people to slow the spread of the virus and to end the pandemic. As to why they're doing it, that's a good question. I'd like to know why the governments are doing this. I mean, maybe they just genuinely want to be cautious. But, I mean, to me, it seems to me like the benefits of keeping vaccinating people outweigh the costs, given the lack of good evidence for the vaccines causing blood clots. Here's a quote from another expert in the Wall Street Journal. Karl Lauterbach, a professor of epidemiology and a legislator in Germany's federal parliament, criticized his country's move to temporarily stop giving the vaccine. He said an investigation without pausing shots would have made more sense amid the upsurge in cases in Europe. In the third wave, which is now picking up speed, the first vaccinations with the AstraZeneca vaccine would be lifesavers, he tweeted. So, I don't know why they're doing it. I'm guessing it's politics, but I'm not sure what the exact politics would be. Di Reed says, we do want to be cautious. Why do anything until EMA says something? The EMA said a few days ago they had no reason to think that the vaccine was unsafe. Fredo thinks it's to punish AstraZeneca for reneging on the supply contracts. Amanda Kelly says, I truly hope it's not politically motivated. Richard Williams, our viewer, sent me this article from BBC. Is Europe's AstraZeneca jab decision-making flawed? A number of countries have decided to suspend use of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. But is it a case of being too cautious? The decision has been made on the basis of the precautionary principle, a well-established approach in science and medicine that stresses the need to pause and review when evidence is uncertain. But in a fast-moving pandemic, when each decision could have major consequences, it's an approach which can sometimes do more harm than good. Fine. The 37 reports of blood clots from people who have taken the AstraZeneca vaccine are below the level you would expect. What is more, and I said this too, there is no strong biological explanation why the vaccine would cause a blood clot, right? So first of all, there's no more people getting blood clots than you'd expect to normally get them. That's the statistics. But also, besides that, there's no good scientific reason to think that the stuff in the vaccine would even be causing the blood clots. That's a whole other reason to think they're not causing them. Again, the scientists understand what is in this vaccine. So they know if there's something in that vaccine that should be causing blood clots, and they wouldn't be releasing a vaccine with something they thought would cause blood clots. This is why the World Health Organization and UK drugs regulators have all said there is no evidence of a link. Professor Adam Finn, a member of the WHO's working group on COVID vaccines, says stopping rollout in this way is highly undesirable. And this is what I said, and could undermine confidence in the vaccine, costing lives in the long term. It's not just that it's going to delay people getting the vaccine, it'll make some people not want to take it at all, maybe. You can read that at BBC. I know, it just seems to me like the cost, given the lack of evidence, good evidence, that the vaccines are causing blood clots, the cost of delaying, to me, it seems like the cost of doing these temporary vaccine stoppages is way more than any potential benefit. Alibaba thinks it's overcautious. Imseti says this has already undermined confidence in the vaccine, unfortunately. It does. I think it undermines confidence around the world. It's not just in those countries, because people in the US hear this, and people in the US, and a lot of people in the US, they don't know the difference between the different vaccines. They just hear vaccine blood clots. I bet there's a bunch of people in the US now who just think, that there's evidence that the vaccines cause blood clots, and they don't want to take any of the vaccines now. Even though the AstraZeneca isn't even one of the vaccines given in the U.S. I think there's huge negative effects of these headlines, and because the headlines don't get into the specifics, and most people don't read the articles. No, I am not aware of any compelling evidence that the AstraZeneca vaccine causes blood clots. I have not seen any. Seen none. Dave NW thinks Germany, France, etc. are doing irreparable damage to the vaccine rollout in the fight against COVID. And it might make people more suspicious of vaccines, more hesitant to take any kind of vaccine, even previous ones that have previously been proven safe, and future ones. Debbie says if blood clots occurred right after vaccination, maybe a pause is a good thing. But the thing is, you'd expect a certain number of blood clots to occur anyway, because people get blood clots naturally. So the only thing that should give you pause, it shouldn't give you pause if people die or get a blood clot or whatever else after getting the vaccine. That in alone shouldn't give you pause, because that happens anyway to people. What should give you pause is if you're seeing people have reactions to a degree that, or of a type, or just in a way that they wouldn't normally have. If people have the same kind of health issues that they normally have after taking the vaccine that they do when they don't take the vaccine, well, there's nothing to be worried about, because they'd be having those health issues anyway. What you should be looking for is some kind of difference in how people are, in the kind of health problems people are getting after taking the vaccine than they would get otherwise. And I've seen nothing to suggest that there's any kind of difference, any kind of bad difference from the reactions people are having to this vaccine versus the health problems they might otherwise normally have, even if they didn't take the vaccine. Oh, Texas Legends Brian is moderating too. Thank you, Texas Legends Brian. John says, had the Oxford vaccine in England on Saturday in just a painful arm. Avi Bobari, I don't know with these cases whether they came after the first or second shot of the Oxford vaccine and what the percentage was of each. Mark McCoy is getting Johnson & Johnson vaccine tomorrow. Starry Night says the cost of this is saving lives. Dragon Lee says, I'm furious. In Germany, we are at the beginning of the third wave. It is irresponsible to stop the vaccinations at this point. That's what Dragon Lee says. Julie Smith, 29, says, I got that bad boy yesterday. I got mine yesterday. I couldn't wait to get that bad boy in my arm. Still Kicking says, nobody is an expert. We're still in an experimental stage. I disagree. I disagree that nobody's an expert on vaccines. The scientists who made the vaccines know fully what's in them. And there's lots of data from all of the tens of, probably hundreds of millions of people who have taken these vaccines so far. So I disagree that nobody's an expert on vaccines. And these vaccines. Hey, real quick, thank you to Tanya Strom for your support. Thank you, Tanya. And also thank you to... I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. And thank you to Tito Acosta from Peru. Tito says, oh God, Peru bought 14 million Astrazeneca vaccines for September. With the scandal of the Chinese vaccines here, only 50,000 Pfizer arriving every week, and I will be vaccinated in 2022. Hey, Tito, I hope you get your vaccine soon. But something Tito points out is that, in a lot of countries, probably the most countries, you don't have the relative plenty of vaccines that you have in countries like the US and some European countries and Israel. So it's going to really be a big difference. I mean, Brazil, which is having a horrible time right now, the worst time they've ever had with the virus, they don't have many vaccines there. So especially like in a few months from now, you're going to see a huge difference between countries where like a huge portion of their population is vaccinated and countries with like very little of the population vaccinated. It's going to be a huge difference. Now, what's going to happen, though, is there will be more and more vaccines going to these countries. And the production is going to ramp up. So I just hope everybody around the world can get vaccines soon. All right, I'm taking some more comments here. Chris Stone says, cautionary principle calls for reasonable caution while investigating a reasonable suggestion of some danger. That is all very professional, simple. I guess my question, though, is what is reasonable? Reasonable caution and reasonable suggestion. Is it reasonable to pause the giving of the Astrazeneca vaccine in this public way with all of the harms that causes? Given the actual evidence on file? I don't think that's reasonable. So I have no problem with that principle in general. The devil is in the details of how you define reasonable. Now, we've seen a number of experts, I've shown you from the articles, say they don't think it's reasonable to have this being done. So I don't have a problem with this principle. I have a problem with whether this incident falls under this principle. Oh, by the way, Mark Worling sent me this. Now it's like Portugal and Slovenia are also suspending the use of AstraZeneca's COVID vaccine. Now I bet you're getting governments getting pressured because people hear, oh, these other governments are doing it. Why don't? And they probably figure it's not worth the political cost. I'm guessing that plays into it. That's my guess. I don't know, though. I'm not aware that Portugal or Slovenia have any good evidence that we haven't seen anywhere else. Mark Worling sent that. That's from B&O Newsroom. Here's an update from B&O on the number of people vaccinated in the U.S. 21.4% partially vaccinated, 11.6% fully vaccinated. Oh yeah, I would take AstraZeneca now. If that were the only, if I hadn't been vaccinated, I would take it. And there were no other vaccines available, sure, I would definitely take it. Now, I would prefer, the reason I would prefer one of the three, Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J is just because I'm American and I tend to stick with CDC recommendations. But from everything I've seen, the Oxford vaccine is quite effective in helping lower the risk of death and serious disease from the virus. So yeah, I would have no problem taking it from the disease. I would have no problem taking it. I think eventually it'll be approved in the U.S. I would have, if I took the vaccine, I would have the AstraZeneca, I would have no concerns about like blood clots or other serious health effects. None. Okay. I want to move on to a different story in a second. Let's see here. Long Meat Mate says, do we know something about the Sputnik and the Chinese one already or not? I don't. I know there's actually been good data on the Chinese vaccine, at least one of them, Sinovac. And Sputnik too, I believe there's been some positive data on those. I don't have it handy. Let's see here. I mean, this is an article from February which says Russia Sputnik vaccine gives around 92% protection against COVID-19. Late-stage trial results published in The Lancet revealed. Dr. Julian Tang, a clinical virologist at the University of Leicester, said, I think this is Leicester, how you pronounce that, despite the earlier misgivings about the way the Russian Sputnik vaccine was rolled out more widely, this approach has been justified to some extent now. But there's different Chinese vaccines, so I'm not up to date on all this stuff. I mean, how the 4 biggest COVID vaccines not available in the U.S. compared with those that are. Insider. This is from last week. Sinovac, that's Chinese. Efficacy unclear. One trial said 50%, the other said 91%. So I'm not sure about the Chinese ones. Looks like there's some good data on the Sputnik one. I would have to do more research. Felix Christians, our viewer, says the amount of deaths compared to the panic is absurd. All right, let's go on to a different topic. We covered that topic. I want to talk about these NFTs. Let's talk about the NFTs. Let me just first make sure there's no kind of crazy breaking news happening. Oh, Gino Auriemma has COVID-19. I hope he's okay. UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma has COVID-19. This is from NBC4. He is not experiencing any symptoms. Good. He's isolating at home. So hopefully he continues to have no symptoms. That would be good. Oh, tornado warning. Hey, tornado warning in Missouri. Let's check this out. Tornado warning. 2 tornado warnings, one in Kansas and Missouri. Here we go, look. Tornado warnings, Kansas and Missouri. Right on the border between Kansas and Missouri, see? South of Kansas City. South of Kansas City, look. Let's check. Okay, this is the velocity radar. I'm looking down here. And what I'm seeing is, I'm guessing, right, you're looking for like a bright green and bright red next to each other, like a yin-yang kind of thing. A couplet, it's called. I'm seeing this one right here. This shows you how fast the wind is going. And you're looking for the green and red next to each other because that says there's fast wind going in opposite directions right next to each other, which is what you'd expect to see in a tornado. So I'm seeing that here. They might be concerned about this area in here. But let me just do this. Near Aubrey. I mean, I wouldn't surprise if there's very stormy weather there. I don't know if there's a big tornado there right now. Let's go look at the reflexivity. Looking for a hook shape on the left. Hard to see because there's a bunch of rain there. Is there any debris? We'll go to the This radar correlation coefficient, you're looking for like, you'd want to see like a blue, if you see like a round blue ball shape, that can mean there's a bunch of tornado debris, but I'm not seeing that. So hopefully there's no big tornado there right now. But that is south of Kansas City. Actually, you can see Kansas City is right up here. You know, I'm not seeing, certainly if you're in these areas, you should take precautions. They tell you in the tornado warning where to go. But I'm not seeing the sign of any kind of major tornado right now. Not that there isn't one, but I'm looking on the velocity radar and I'm not seeing it. See, it says like here, tornado warning. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows if you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle. Move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Darren says, my brother lives in Missouri. Mark's, we'll talk about that. Yeah, Mark mentioned the severe weather predicted maybe for Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll talk about that in a second. What is this? Our viewer Dragon Lee, by the way, says anti-vax myths are definitely a problem in Germany, and at the moment it's getting worse. Dave NW says, I was told by a friend in Europe that the anti-vax sentiment is strong there, and politicians know that. I mean, if there's a bunch of people, a decent segment of the population who thinks that, you could imagine that these European countries don't want to upset those voters. So they figure we'll do a short pause of giving out the Astrazeneca vaccine. Maybe something like that's happening. The macaw lady says, doesn't look too close to my family. Let me show you also what Reed Timmer posted earlier. So he had said morning NAM model, I guess it's a weather model, I assume, is showing a massive, strongly sheared warm sector stretching from central Arkansas to western Georgia by Wednesday afternoon. Chances for a major tornado outbreak with strong, violent tornadoes is increasing. Time to dial in severe weather safety plans. Tornado season to Dixie. But he also posted this. National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center. Fire weather, that's not what we want. This says a slight risk for severe storms capable of large hail, damaging gusts, and perhaps tornadoes in place for portions of the Plain States, mainly for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Because that's not what he was talking about. That's a slight risk. Okay, do they have any other big risk? Let's see. Oh, here's this day here. An enhanced risk for fast-moving severe storms capable of producing several tornadoes, some strong, is in place across portions of the southeast for Wednesday, March 17th. The threat will start Wednesday morning and continue through the night. Several tornadoes, large hail. Here, let me show you this. Several tornadoes, large hail, and damaging wind gusts are possible across portions of the southeast on Wednesday. Cities included Little Rock, Memphis, Jackson, Birmingham, Montgomery, Alabama, Monroe, Vicksburg, Hattiesburg. Those are all in the enhanced risk, and these are in slight risk. Orange is enhanced risk. That's Wednesday. That is Wednesday. So we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, obviously, if there's tornadoes, if there's a bunch of tornado stuff going on, we'll cover it. It's a little early. It's a little before tornado season, though. We looked that up a couple days ago. This is from Tampa Bay Times. Scientists project an active tornado season 2021. April is the peak time for twisters throughout the Great Plains and Deep South. That's interesting. April is the peak time for tornadoes throughout the Great Plains and Deep South. In Florida, they come year-round. Scientists project 2021 will see more twisters than usual, in part because we remain in a La Nina climate pattern. This is from NSSL. Where is how many tornadoes? Where do they occur? Doesn't it tell you here what time? Oh yeah. Tornado season usually refers to the time of the year in the U.S. sees the most tornadoes. The peak tornado season for the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, is from May into early June. On the Gulf Coast, it is earlier in the spring. In the northern plains and upper Midwest, it is in June or July. But they can happen any time of year. Craig Carlberg says, I'm where what's called Carolina Alley. Tornado Alley is a nickname invented by the media to refer to a broad area of relatively high tornado occurrence in the central United States. But the tornado threat shifts around during the year. Tornado Alley is a loosely defined area of the central U.S. where tornadoes are the most frequent. They show it right here. Tornado Alley. But there's plenty of tornadoes not in that place. Craig Carlberg says, Wednesday and Thursday may be big severe weather days. All right. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Hey, we're giving you the latest updates and latest headlines. We're also taking comments from you guys. So give me a shout on Twitter, @Lookner on Twitter. That's the best place to reach me. All right, hang on here. Hang on. I'm also just checking and making sure we're not missing any other kind of breaking news. Oh, I wanted to talk about look at this. This is interesting. I want to talk about Myanmar for a second, but look at this. Confirmed. Facebook video CDN services restricted on multiple internet providers in Jordan amid anti-curfew protests after COVID patients die due to oxygen shortages. Restrictions consistent with previous disruptions during protests. That's interesting. That's in Jordan. From NetBlocks. Besama Mamani says several protests in Jordan against the government after patients die in hospital due to oxygen failures, likely to stop the spread of videos documenting protests, Facebook being restricted in the country. I just saw that right now. But what I want to show you is the stuff about Myanmar. So Myanmar, at the beginning of February, if I have this right, at the beginning of February, the military took over Myanmar from the democratically elected government. There was a coup in Myanmar. And what they've been doing in Myanmar is every night the government has been shutting down the internet. But what they started doing in the last day is not just shutting down the internet, they're also shutting down like mobile cell phone data. If I have that right. Let me show you this. Here. Mobile internet is now being cut over people's phones. And they're cutting it out during the day. They're cutting it out during the day. So NetBlocks says, this was a few hours ago, it's just past midnight in Myanmar, and so I think the big deal is they're cutting it during the day, where network data show mobile internet on people's phones has been cut for over 23 hours, the longest nation-scale shutdown incident on record since the February 1st coup. Then they say fixed-line Wi-Fi internet has been cut in Myanmar from 1 a.m. for the 30th night in a row. So they're cutting, from my understanding, they're basically cutting all the internet at night. But then during the day, yesterday, like a day ago, they stopped people using their cell phones for internet during the day. Let's see if I can get more about this. Oh, by the way, there's still a tornado warning going on. One of our viewers, Jacques, said he was in a tornado warning, Jacques Bird. So this is the tornado warning in Kansas and Missouri right now. I'm not seeing anything on the right here that looks like a major tornado, but I'll keep an eye on it. And again, if you're in that area, you should be taking cover. Let me see if I can find out more about what's going on there today with the internet. Freya Cole, and she is with BBC. She says the consequences are being felt. Local journalists and citizens are reporting there have been fewer real-time videos coming out of Myanmar today. There's also widespread concern for citizens who rely solely on mobile phone internet for communication and access to information. So I guess there's a significant number of people there who they basically use the internet on their phone. That's how they get to the internet. And now those people can't even use the internet during the day. Now remember that a couple of days ago in Myanmar, there were dozens of people killed by the military. Well over 100 people have now been killed in Myanmar by the military who's been firing on protesters. Just a couple of days ago, there were dozens of people killed, over 30 people killed. But this is new. The shutting off the mobile internet during the day is new. Melissa McQueen says, I knew they'd eventually start blocking during the day. Ann M says, hence the real problem when government controls everything. Kathy says, how are they able to do this? They have, I think, I mean, other countries can do it too. I don't know the technology of it all, but governments have the ability to do this. Rex Mundy says cell towers too. Are cell phones not working? I'm not sure about that. trying to just get you a little more about the internet stuff there. Yeah, Myanmar Now, which is a Myanmar news, a site reporting Myanmar news, says soldier shoots man in head at close range as junta continues crackdown. At least 12 were killed across the country on Monday as mobile internet was shut off and martial law imposed in areas of Yangon, which is a major city there. Low Roller Scratcher says they need the internet for work. If they shut it down, does internet shut down? Does internet shut down? They can't use ATM machine. Yeah, let's see. Hold on a second here. Blah, blah, blah. I believe this is the first day it's been happened during the day. The mobile internet. It's new though. Because usually they've been just shutting off the internet at night. Give me a shout if you have comments at Lookner on Twitter. Duster Singer says that's terrible. Duster Singer says, why are they stopping the internet? Well, I believe a big reason they're stopping the internet is to keep people from, one, to keep reporting of the protests from getting out, and two, I'd assume maybe to keep people from organizing protests. My guesses would be things like that. All right, we are covering latest news here. This is Agenda Free TV 2 on YouTube and Agenda Free TV on the other platforms. On YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube and you happen to have not seen this before, my main channel is called Agenda Free TV. That's the main channel, Agenda Free TV, where if we're covering like a single news story, I'll be on Agenda Free TV. This channel is Agenda Free TV 2 on YouTube. So if you like this channel, you might want to subscribe to Agenda Free TV because that's the main news channel. All right. And thanks again to our mods. Hey, Danny James is here. Thanks, Danny James, for moderating. Angel Shark, Mark Helton, Sarah Joy. We've had Lisa Cushman and Linda Belk moderating too. Idaho Star and Tariak, Bud Green. Maria Wed says there were so many deaths in Myanmar this weekend and Monday. Yeah, it's been terrible there lately. Protesters getting shot by the military. Okay, we are going to move to a different topic now. Oh, there's still a couple of tornado warnings going on in Kansas and Missouri. I'm looking on the right for any kind of sign of a major tornado. I'm not seeing it at the moment. You'd expect to see maybe, like bright green. You're looking for like a green and blue patch, a bright green or blue next to like a red or yellow patch, red or tan patch. And I'm not seeing it at the moment. So I'll keep an eye on that. The princess says, I feel like this is the main channel now. Well, for like the last week or so, the stories have been more kind of like, there's been not like stories so much that are huge stories I want to cover on its own. It's been more like there's a bunch of stories that were maybe a little smaller that I thought would be better covered, you know, that wouldn't really be right for covering for their own stream, but would be good to bring up during a news roundup kind of thing. Ooh. Speaking of tornado, look, Reed Timmer posted this. Steve Polly, brief touchdown near Stillwell. I guess that's in the Kansas/Missouri area. That was posted 12 minutes ago from Steve Polly, Storm Chase guy. Oh, they actually talked about it here. 4:33 p.m. This was about 20 minutes ago, Central Time. Report from a law enforcement of a tornado near 199th and Switzer in rural southeastern Johnson County. Then they said rotation has weakened and we believe the tornado has likely lifted. That's from National Weather Service, Kansas City. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. There is too much open on my desktop now. Oh, the China sandstorm. We should talk about the China sandstorm. That's kind of crazy. Oh, and also the NFTs. We got to talk about that. Jan Harker says Stillwell is outside Overland Park, Kansas, which is west of Kansas City. Flights canceled during China's worst sandstorm in a decade. This is from AP. Sandstorm. China's capital and a wide swath of the country's north were enveloped Monday in the worst sandstorm in a decade. Skyscrapers appear to drop out of sight from the dust and sand. The National Meteorological Center said the storm had developed in the Gobi Desert in the Inner Mongolia region. Such storms used to occur regularly in the springtime as sand from western deserts blew eastwards, affecting areas as far as northern Japan. Massive planting of trees and bushes in fragile areas has reduced effects on other parts of the country in recent years, but the expansion of cities and industries, along with strip mining and overgrazing, has put constant pressure on the environment throughout China. With its mix of desert and grassy steppe, Inner Mongolia is particularly prone to extreme weather resulting from resource exploitation. Inner Mongolia. That is a region of China. So there's Inner Mongolia there. And then Beijing is... I can't find Beijing. Where is Beijing on this map? Terrible. I can't find it. There we go. So there's Beijing, which is about 200 miles from Inner Mongolia. Let's get rid of this. Let's see. The worst dust storm in a decade shrouds Beijing in northern China. This is from New York Times. The Communist Party has made great strides in reducing China's pollution, but a perfect storm of northern winds from the north, and an industrial rebound has created dangerously high levels of pollution countrywide. The largest and strongest dust storm in a decade swept across northern China, creating a ghastly shroud over tens of millions of people. Oh, I looked at an air quality site And it said that I saw somebody posted on Twitter, it was an air quality site, and it said like the air quality was off the charts because of this storm. Oh, now it's at 63. Yesterday it was at 999. Yesterday it was at 999. Here, hold on. Let me see. I can find the screenshot from yesterday. Look at this. Yeah, Janice Mackey Fryer posted this. This was yesterday. She said, after 10 plus days of pollution in static area, sandstorm has turned Beijing sky to this and sent the AQI reading off the charts. This is what it said yesterday. It just said 999. I'm guessing that might be as high as it can go. But that was yesterday. Janet R. says, Nevada has pretty good sandstorms on occasion. The storm recalled the air apocalypses that the country routinely experienced a few years ago, forcing crash government efforts to address what had become a political and economic health crisis. Those efforts improved the air quality significantly, especially around the capital. But this week, three forces, the post-COVID industrial rebound, the continued impact of climate change on the deserts of northern China, and a late winter storm combined to create a dangerous, suffocating pall. I've never been in a sandstorm. Salon Girl says West Texas sandstorm. I should look up about a sandstorm. Let's look up Wikipedia. Dust storm? Is that what it is? A dust storm, also called a sandstorm, arises when a gust front or other strong wind blows loose sand and dirt from a dry surface. What else does it say? Dust storms can carry large amounts of dust, blah, 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 blah. Short-term effects to the exposure of dust include immediate increased symptoms and worsenings of the lung function in individuals with asthma, increased in mortality and morbidity from long transported dust from both Saharan, blah, blah, blah. Dust pneumonia is the result of large amounts of dust being inhaled. I have never been in one. Stray Bull says, last year in my town, the air quality was like a 560 rating. Dave NW, we'll talk about NFT shortly. Give me a shout. At Lookner on Twitter is where you can reach me. Let me know. Hold on a second here. Hang on a second here. What am I doing? Let me know if you have comments, questions, if you're hearing updates. At Lookner on Twitter. Mountain Shadow Art says, we have dust storms here in eastern Oregon. The dirt burns your eyes. Duster Singer says, amazing dust storms in Arizona too. Iceman7 is watching. Shaggy says, a good sandstorm will sandblast the paint off your car. I'm not sure if that's true. Cyrene says sandstorms are nasty. They are frequent in the Arabian Gulf. Cleaning the house after the storm is a nightmare. I was looking up like ways to protect yourself during a sandstorm. WikiHow. 3 ways to how to survive a dust storm or sandstorm. Put a mask over your nose and mouth. Protect your eyes. Look for shelter. Get to high ground. The densest concentration of sand or dust bounces close to the ground, so the storm will be less forceful at the top of a hill. How about that? Shield yourself from flying objects. Wait out the storm. Jan Harker says, I used to live in West Kansas, replaced the car windshield every 2 years. Okay. All right, I want to talk about this NFT story. We said we were going to talk about it before. So let's talk about the NFT story. That's what I want to talk about. Some NFTs got stolen. Check this out. Hackers stole NFTs from Nifty gateway users. So NFTs are these like digital collectibles which are kept track of using blockchain technology. I know that sounds confusing probably. Blockchain is the technology that keeps track of who owns different cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin and Dogecoin and all this. There's no central authority that keeps track of all that. The way you know who owns how many Bitcoins and who's given it to who, there's a copy of the ledger. The copy of all the Bitcoin transactions after are kept on computers around the world through this thing called the blockchain. So it can keep track of who owns what and who's giving what to whom, without any kind of central authority doing it. It's just all done on different computers, and the system is constantly updating itself. There are now these NFTs, which are like these digital collectibles that are kept track of by the blockchain. So you could have a piece of art. It doesn't hang on your wall. It's not a physical thing. It's like a piece of digital art. Or there's like, these digital NBA highlights called NBA Top Shot, which are very popular and very expensive now, some of them. And they're like, you can think of them as like online basketball cards or something like that, So, but this just happened, this came out today that this site Nifty Gateway, where you can buy digital NFT artworks, people got their NFTs stolen from them. Now, the thing is, what it looks like happened is that people got their accounts compromised. Maybe somebody stole their password and got into their account. But the thing is about this is the way the blockchain works, once something's stolen from you, there's no way to reverse the transaction. With Bitcoin and with NFTs, anything that operates with this blockchain technology, there's no way. Remember, with Bitcoin, just like these NFTs, there's no central authority. So, like if you, for example, if somebody steals your credit card and charges your credit card, the credit card company can reverse the charges because they oversee it. If somebody steals your online banking password and starts transferring money, in theory, the bank can reverse it. But there's no central authority when it comes to Bitcoin or NFTs or any of the big digital currencies. That's kind of like the point of them, is that there's no central authority overseeing them. But because there's no central authority overseeing them, once a transaction is done, once person X gives something to person Y, that can't be reversed. It's just in the system. It's a recorded transaction. There's no reversing it. So what happened is some people, it looks like people maybe got their password stolen and people broke into their accounts and stole their digital collectibles, and they transferred their digital collectibles to someone else. But the people found out, but they can't, they're going to go to this site, Nifty Gateway, and say, hey, can you do anything about this? And Nifty Gateway is going to be like, well, no, we can't. They've been given away. There's no way to reverse this transaction. And that's why if you look in the article down here from The Verge, it says, given the blockchain-based nature of NFTs, Nifty Gateway doesn't have control of an NFT once it's stolen, so it seems unlikely that the affected users will be able to recover their lost collections. If you have a Bitcoin and it gets stolen from you, you can't get it back. If you have a digital artwork, like using the blockchain and NFT, and it gets stolen from you, can't get it back. Rita's Real says, that's why I'm not a fan of cryptocurrency. Craig Carlberg says somebody or something should oversee this. But the thing is, that would violate the basic principle of the system. Well, again, the whole point of keeping a currency, of keeping a record on the blockchain is that the record just keeps updating itself on various computers, and there's protections built into the system so that somebody can't just you can't mess with the record. It's practically impossible to change the record of who owns what. But if somebody gets your credentials and and uses your credentials to transfer something you own to somebody else, once that's recorded as a transaction, there's no way to reverse it because there's no central authority. But if you put somebody in charge of it, then that would really go against the whole point of this stuff. But the thing is, see, people who invest in I think there's a difference here. Bitcoin is supposed to be like a digital currency where nobody's in charge of it. No government's in charge of it. So I think at least a fair amount of people investing in Bitcoin understand that nobody's in charge of Bitcoin. But with these NFTs, this is an interesting point, I think. I think a lot of the people who invest in these NFTs, which are digital collectibles, they probably don't even know what blockchain is, right? So I'm guessing more people understand if you buy Bitcoin and it gets given to somebody else, then you're out of luck. I don't know if people really understand that about NFTs. I'm guessing there's a lot of people who invest in these digital collectibles. They don't know what blockchain is. They don't know how Bitcoin works. They just think it's a collectible. So, the collectible uses this blockchain technology, and the point of that technology is that nobody oversees it. But I'm guessing a lot of people who buy these digital collectibles, these NFTs, don't understand that, I can't, if somebody hacks into my account and transfers my digital collectibles somewhere else, there's no way to reverse that. A lot of them might not understand that. Well, let me show you here. This guy posted about it. Let's see here. There was this post I saw about it. Oh, I wonder if it was taken down. Michael Miraflor. Did he take down his post? Let's see. Oh, protected tweets. So what happened is he posted his tweets about this incident, And then you could see them like a couple hours ago, and now he's protected his tweets. I don't know if he was getting maybe he was getting unwanted replies to his tweets. But what he had posted before, says The Verge, he said, someone stole my NFTs today on Nifty Gateway and purchased $10,000 worth of today's drop without my knowledge. NFTs were then transferred to another account. So somebody broke into his account with his digital collectibles and transferred them out of the account. Okay? Now, and let me just show, just so you know what we're talking about, let me just show you what Nifty Gateway is. It is a premier marketplace for Nifties, which are digital items you can truly own. So like these digital collectibles, next release in 19 minutes, 11 seconds. Never miss a drop. The premier, most popular, the Bitcoin Angel. The Bitcoin Angel. These are these digital collectibles. This one costs $5,400. This one costs $7,800. And you might say, well, like, how is this one different from this one? Well, sometimes they will produce. It'll be like the same digital collectible, but they all have different numbers. See, this is number 1499. This is number 1205. This is number 2697. Some of these are expensive. Recently sold. Here's another digital artwork, it looks like. And you can buy and sell them. See, there it is there. This edition is on sale for $969. So anyways, this person, some people, they had these accounts on this Nifty Gateway where they own these digital collectibles, and apparently they got their accounts hacked into, and then somebody went into their account and basically probably took the digital collectibles out of their account and gave them to their own secret account. They transferred the digital collectibles out, and there's no way to get these things back because these NFTs use this blockchain technology to keep track of who owns what, and there's no, once the transaction is done, there's no central authority. So let me just show you here from The Verge. Hackers stole NFTs from Nifty Gateway users. We have seen no compromise of the Nifty Gateway platform. Over the weekend, some users of NFT marketplace Nifty Gateway said hackers stole digital artwork worth thousands of dollars from their accounts. Some people who were hacked also said their credit cards were on file and they were used to produce additional NFTs, which were then transferred away to a hacker's account. Nifty Gateway confirmed in a statement to The Verge that some accounts without two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is when you sign into something and they say, okay, well, you've signed in, but we need to check another way. So they'll send you a code to your phone and they'll have a second way of you. It's like a second way for you to authenticate who you are. So I guess some accounts did not have two-factor authentication, which makes me think maybe that they guessed the account's passwords or they got the account's passwords. Nifty Gateway suggests the hackers may have used successfully reused login credentials that leaked from other services. Then this person, Keyboard Monkey, posted, list of stolen pieces from Nifty Gateway hack. Not one other account of mine compromised and other people on Nifty Gateway, same hack. 150,000 plus of things stolen. Wow. This person, Keyboard Monkey, said they had 150,000 worth of things stolen and you can't get those back. If somebody takes your digital collectibles, once they're transferred to somebody else, there's no central authority to give them back. It's like if your Bitcoin is taken and given to somebody else. If you have your Bitcoin in a Bitcoin wallet and the wallet gets hacked into and it gets transferred to somebody else, can't get reversed. You're out of luck. Rita's Real says, at least with my bank, we have FDIC protection up to $250,000. Let's see here. Dart Q says anything blockchain are all pass. These things are getting really popular. NBA Top Shot is hugely popular. They're like these online, you can buy an online highlights basically But some of these sell for a lot of money. So you can buy Giannis Antetokounmpo highlights. Now, some of them are cheaper. Like this one sells for $32. Some of these sell for thousands of dollars. I wonder, where do people keep their accounts? So if you buy, I have a question. Yeah, see, like, hopefully people have good security on their accounts. I assume if you buy NBA Top Shot, if you buy NBA Top Shot, like, would you have an account with this site? Because if somebody, like, I'm wondering, could the same thing happen here? Like, say you own a bunch of these highlights. If somebody breaks into your account, they could take your highlights and give them to somebody else, to their own secret account, and then there's no way for you to get them back. Anne Mari says, same thing is happening with HYIP and Wiseling and Burax exit scam, 400,000 people scam. I haven't heard about that. Wiseling and HYIP daily interest stole a bunch of Bitcoin. Wiseling? I'll have to look that up. I mean, I looked up Wiseling and I found stuff like this. This is like Africa. Ghana Web. SEC warns investors against Wiseling online investment company. I don't really know the background about this. Hey, by the way, a reminder, if you like this coverage, subscribe, because we do these news roundups every so often, these live news coverage. Also, I do want to say thanks to everybody who's donated, because that's how I can do this news coverage 7 days a week. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you do want to support the channel with a donation, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. And a big thanks again to our moderators. We have right now moderating Angel Shark, Sarah 55, Danny James, Sarah Joy, Lizzie, Mark Helton, and also Bud Green's been moderating. Thank you, Bud Green. Idaho Star and Tariag are moderating too. But see, this would be like a big deal. Like, I don't know to what degree, like this NBA Top Shot thing, how vulnerable are they to like a hack like what happened with this digital art website? Julie Aiken says, why would you pay that much for it if you can get it for free? Again, it's like, it's just people like owning this stuff. Also, I think some people buy it. I think probably a fair amount of people might buy the stuff because they think it's going to go up in value. It's very speculative. Fredo says, I'm deep into crypto, but NFTs are stupid. Diana L says, I think she said it's like Pokemon cards for the rich. But that's an important thing with these NFTs. If something happens, it's like Bitcoin. If somehow something goes wrong and it gets transferred to somebody else, you can't get it back. It's not the transactions are irreversible. The only way you could reverse it is if the person who now had what you had gave it back to you. That's the only way to reverse it. They have to give it back to you. That's it. Yeah, we looked at this yesterday. Crypto Slam. They talk about NFTs. It's an NFT price site. So recently, in the last 24 hours, the most popular NFT has been by sales has been CryptoPunks. They're these CryptoPunks. They're these kind of simple digital artworks of faces. And some of them sell, and I think there's a limit, I think there's like 10,000 of them or something like that. But they sell for like lots of money. The prices are in Ethereum. How can I get the prices in dollars? Yeah, live sales. This one sold for $41,000. This one sold for $43,000. This one sold for $63,000. See, it's all these different CryptoPunks. But they're these very desirable digital collectibles. See, look at the prices for these. These are all sold in the last hour or two. CryptoPunks for all $40,000, $44,000, $93,000, $140,000. Anyways, if you want to see about more, go to Crypto Slam. You can look at different NFTs. I guess this is like a soccer one, I think. Soccer cards, digital soccer. It looks like digital soccer cards. I'm not sure. I'm just eyeballing it. It kind of looks like it to me. Yeah, these digital soccer cards. Kimmy Rose says, just seems like an incredible waste, but I won't judge how someone chooses to spend their discretionary income. I mean, it's just, there's physical collectibles too. There's physical collectibles too. Like Pokemon cards, which some of you were talking about. Those are physical, and some of those are highly valued too. These are digital collectibles. Oh, Nicole Wilson mentioned this. Also, one of our other viewers mentioned this too. Who's the other viewer who mentioned this? Another viewer mentioned this. The FBI came out with a report about the Nashville bombing. FBI releases report on Nashville bombing. The FBI says his actions were determined to not be related to terrorism. The FBI assesses Warner specifically chose the location and timing of the bombing so it would be impactful while still minimizing the likelihood of causing undue injury. The FBI's analysis did not reveal indications of a broader ideological motive to use violence to bring about social or political change. Nor does it reveal indications of a specific personal grievance focused on individuals or entities around the location of the explosion. It is important to note that only Warner knows the real reason why he detonated his explosive device. However, at this time, the FBI is confident, based on evidence collected, Warner's own writings and interviews with those who knew him best, that the above assessment is accurate. Based on the analysis of the information and evidence gathered throughout the investigation, the FBI assesses Warner's detonation of the improvised explosive device was an intentional act in an effort to end his own life, driven in part by a totality of life stressors, including paranoia, long-held individualized beliefs adopted from several eccentric conspiracy theories, in the loss of stabilizing anchors and deteriorating interpersonal relationships. So on the one hand, they say that he was trying to make it an impactful bombing, but he also minimized the likelihood of causing undue injury, they said. I mean, I remember we were talking about this. That was a whole intriguing thing about the whole thing. How, on the one hand, it seemed like he did this thing which could really injure and kill a bunch of people. And on the other hand, He did have it was early, like Christmas morning, very early Christmas morning, not when the streets would have been packed. And also there was this warning being played from this audio warning being played from the RV. I don't know if they have the actual report here. Anyways, you can go to FBI on Twitter and get their get that press release. Report determines Warner chose the location and timing of the bombing so it would be impactful while still minimizing. Yeah. I'm going to post both of these from Andrew Solander. He's with Forbes. Social Traveler says it was a massive explosion. Shrubby says, still have that voice recording from the RV stuck in my head. Oh, I owe a thank you to, I really appreciate it, Donna Brueggemann. Thank you so much for your donation, Donna Brueggemann. Very much appreciate it. Donna, thank you. That's very kind of you, Donna. Kayvon says, sounds like terrorism to me. Well, again, they didn't find any kind of, cause that he was trying to promote. I think that's what they were looking for, to classify it as terrorism. Nicole, I don't know if we ever found out any more about, I haven't looked into it, but the whole thing with him, right before the bombing, he transferred his house to this woman. So I don't know if we ever figured out more about that. If they ever figured out more. I haven't even looked it up. I just Googled, I said, Warner House transfer Nashville. And there's no articles come up about it. It's all stuff from December. I was thinking maybe there would be an article from last month, but I don't see a single article that comes up, after December about the whole house transfer thing. Maybe there's more information out there, but I was just seeing through any articles and I don't see anything. Our viewer, by the way, Annie Mari, thinks that the NFTs are people buying limited edition stuff expecting price to go up. Again, you can go to the FBI on Twitter and find their report. I also retweeted it too. Sorry, I'm just checking for some other updates here. News updates. Oh, there's still any tornado warnings? There's one tornado warning. There's one tornado warning in Missouri. No, 2 tornado warnings in Missouri. 2 tornado warnings in Missouri going on right now. But at the moment, I'm not seeing, certainly you should take cover if you're in these areas. I'm not seeing the sign of a major tornado on the velocity radar. Thanks for your kind words, Salon Girl. All right. Let's just see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Oh, I saw this before. Just, I find these stories interesting. This is Ben Conark with the Miami Herald posted this. He said Monday, 11 a.m., and there's no line at the FEMA-supported vaccination site in North Miami Beach, despite age minimum being dropped to 60 started today. There's this weird situation going on where, so like in this area, I mean, this has been something that's come up in Florida, is there's clearly a lot of demand for the vaccine among people who haven't been able to get it yet. But, there's still restrictions. In Florida, it's not everybody can get the vaccine. So there's been sometimes you have these sites that open up, and if they just opened up the distribution, there'd be tons of people at this site, my guess is. But, there's still restrictions on it. So there's this balance. I mean, they want to get the more vulnerable people vaccinated first, which would be a good thing. But what happens when, those people aren't showing up anymore? So it's just interesting to see, once in a while this has happened in Florida. And look, the more this happens, the quicker they're just going to probably lower the age requirement in Florida. But I just saw this morning from Ben Conark. I don't know if he posted anything else about it. Let's see here. He said, anyone reporter can drive to North Miami Beach, one of the places where these sites are ostensibly supposed to be helping people and see the dysfunction for themselves. What did he say? Let's see. I don't really want to get into this in detail. This is a story from the Miami Herald. If I can get it up here. Oh, I don't think I can read it. It's a paywall. Anyways, so it's just something you see. Sometimes these sites open up, they are up, and it's like just there's not demand among the people who are allowed to go get it, and there's tons of demand from the people who aren't allowed yet. But that's just one site. So, oh, he said later. He said, drove back to check and see if people were showing up here. Found one person in line. Appears to be carrying a consent form. He just turned to walk back to his car. A handful of people gathered to the right as well. Then he said later, this is the biggest crowd I've seen here today. Cops at the door asking for everyone for Florida ID. By the way, I think our viewer Aurora Rogan might be a little behind. Oh no, she okay, I didn't see this. She said, here's an article on why Germany suspended Astrazeneca. Blood clots observed were of a specific, normally very rare type. Again, I have heard no argument from experts saying that there was evidence that show. I have seen no argument from any expert that said, oh yeah, this evidence is really good evidence that shows that AstraZeneca causes blood clots. And I've seen lots of experts say, no, the evidence does not show this. Now this is from Spiegel Science. Let's see here. This says the accumulation of these rare thromboses, blood clots, in a short period is striking. Okay. Now this is, what do they say here? They say, hold on a second. The blood clots observed are so-called sinus vein thromboses. A blood clot blocks a large vein in the brain, blah, 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 blah. The blockage could cause the blood to build up. Sinus vein thromboses cause around 1% of all strokes. A peculiarity of the blood clots, thromboses, observed at vaccinations is that they occurred together with the lack of blood platelets, one of the most important components of blood clotting. Now, in this article, it says, after the vaccinations, there have been around 4 cases of the rare thrombosis per million vaccinated since the beginning of February. Usually this type of thrombosis occurs in a population about 2 to 5 times per million people, but within a full year. So this expert says this should be the reason to suspend the vaccination in Germany until all cases have been completely cleared up. Despite the noticeable accumulation, there is currently no evidence that there is a direct connection between the vaccination and the blood clots. So thank you. So this talks about, again, I'm not a medical expert. This talks about how in Denmark, there were these specific types of blood clots that was concerned that those specific types were occurring more than they should. Again, all I can say is that I've seen many experts, including the WHO and the European, is it called the Medicines Agency, the EMA, European Medicines Agency, say that there's no reason at this time to suspend these vaccinations. So, but that's a helpful article because it gives a little more specifics. But I can't confirm that, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was some kind of specific thing about the blood. We were wondering before about, about these specific blood clots. So this article says that there's like a certain kind of specific blood clot that has happened several times. Kayvon Osborne says, it's better they temporarily stop one vaccine so people don't lose faith in all of them, even with no evidence. I totally disagree, Kayvon, because as I said before, when a government says we're stopping giving this vaccine, a lot of people aren't going to read the articles and they'll just think, oh, well, vaccines are unsafe. And they won't even think AstraZeneca. They'll think all the vaccines. A lot of people, after seeing these headlines, will think, oh, the COVID vaccines cause blood clots. And they won't follow up and they won't read the articles. There's a huge vaccine hesitancy cost, I believe, encouraging vaccine hesitancy when governments do these things. So they need to have very good reason to do something like this. The benefits must outweigh the major costs of doing it. In addition to the cost of not vaccinating people for weeks who normally would have gotten vaccinated. So again, I have seen, the experts, no expert has said that there's a causal relationship. There's no evidence of that. There's no mechanism that I've seen that's been proposed for why these vaccines would be causing this. And there's, again, lots and lots of experts who are saying, no, we see no reason that this would be caused by this. So we'll wait and see. And I do appreciate the article that it's a specific thing. But I would think if there really was this worrying number of this really statistically significant worrying number of these things, I would think we'd hear all kinds of experts saying, no, we got to stop this right now. And I'm hearing lots and lots of experts saying, no, this is not solid evidence, compelling evidence that the vaccine causes these blood clots. So I am not a vaccines expert, obviously, so I defer to the experts. But there's many, many experts out there, including the WHO and the EMA, saying there's not good evidence to warrant stopping giving people these vaccines. And I'd also want to know, I mean, so this article says, well, there are these 4 of these specific type of clot, and usually there aren't that many, but maybe somebody else would look at this data and say, okay, fine, there's 4 of those, but that's not really the category you should be looking at. You should be looking at the larger category of blood clots. As we've seen before, there's data out there that blood clots are not occurring any more great a number among people who've taken the vaccine than people than they would have been expected to occur among people who didn't take the vaccine. So I don't know. I would have to know a lot more about the world of vaccines and blood clots in the human body and be like a health blood clot expert to know whether looking at this particular type of blood clot what the appropriate level is concern over that specific piece of data. Fredo thinks the EMA will reapprove it on Thursday when they will all look very silly. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen. So we talked about this a lot earlier, so I'm not going to, you can watch, we did a whole discussion of this before. I do really appreciate you sending the article in, though, because it's helpful to see that perspective out there. I think if there were clear data that there were that if the data was like really just compelling data about a certain type of blood clot, I think you'd say so much more alarm among the scientific community than you're actually seeing. And again, Kai Kupferschmidt posted this earlier. This is the Assistant Director General for WHO, who said, we can say what we can say so far. It doesn't look like there are more cases than would be expected for the period in the general population. From data so far, there is not an increasing number of cases of these blood clot events. So we'll see. All right. Thank you for sending the article in, though. I appreciate it. All right. I think that was Aurora. Aurora wrote in, who sent me that article. She said, it might still be coincidence, and I think stopping was a bad idea no matter how it turns out to be. Given the very low case number compared to risk of COVID, I would take the jab immediately if I could. That is from Aurora Rogan. Thank you for sending the article and the comment. All right, guys, I think I'm going to need to go eat something. I think that's what I'm going to need to do. I think it might be my time to go eat. But some interesting discussion today. Janet R. says, I just had a news break appear on my phone. Lady dies from vaccine, experience odd effects. Well, a couple things. First of all, I have no idea what the source on your phone is and if they're a reputable source. Second of all, I'm guessing there's a chance that it actually doesn't say the lady died from the vaccine. It probably says the lady died after taking the vaccine. which happens all the time because people die all the time. So again, there is no good evidence out there that the vaccines cause any kind of serious health effects beyond the known side effects. So you need to be careful with the headlines. Anyways, I'm wrapping this up right now. But we will certainly have more news for you soon. And follow me on Twitter for breaking news coverage, @Lookner on Twitter. That's where I post breaking news updates, @Lookner on Twitter. And also subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, this is Agenda Free TV on the other platforms. On YouTube, it's Agenda Free TV 2. Remember, on YouTube, I have 2 news channels on YouTube. I have Agenda Free TV 2, which is what you're watching right now. But I also have the main channel is Agenda Free TV. That's the main channel. So subscribe to those and click the notifications bell and choose all notifications. Make sure you do that. And on the other platforms, subscribe to Agenda Free TV. But I will be shocked if I fully anticipate that soon you will see like the EMA, European Medicines Agency, come out and say, we think this vaccine is safe, and the countries lift their, I will be shocked if countries don't lift their temporary bans on giving out this vaccine. And if that doesn't happen, you can say, Steve, if it comes out that there's serious evidence that this vaccine causes blood clots, then you can point at me and say you were wrong. All right. Hey, thanks to our moderators. They're all volunteers. They're awesome. So I really appreciate the moderators. Sarah Joy, thank you. Danny James, Sarah 55. They're there right now. Bud Green. Idaho Star, and all of our other moderators who've been there today. Tariag, thank you. No Reply is getting the Pfizer vaccine Thursday. Awesome. Cool. I have 3 weeks till my second dose. And thanks to everybody who donated. That is really nice of you. You are the ones who allow me to do this coverage with your support. So thank you so much for the donations. Really appreciate that. If you do want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. And also, if anybody's interested in being a volunteer moderator, ask the mods for more info on that. That would be amazing. And the best way to get notified when I'm coming on the air on my channels. Oh, I should mention my other channel. Well, I do have a channel, a personal channel. So who knows? We might do a stream there tonight. I don't know. But that's called Lookner. Lookner. So sometimes when I'm not covering the news, I do a stream on Lookner channel. And that's only on YouTube. You can find all the channels on YouTube by clicking on channels, and then you get the other channels. See? Okay. But best way to get notified when I'm coming on the air for any of my channels is sign up for the Discord notifications. We set these free, they're free. We set it up on Discord. You just sign up and you get informed whenever I'm coming on the air. If you have the Discord app on your phone, it's really cool because the notifications pop up on your phone. That's what I have. So if you're interested in checking out and signing up and testing out the Discord notifications, just go to the bottom of the YouTube video description. And you can see it. It says it right there at the bottom of the description. It gives the link for the Discord notifications. And the moderators can post that link as well. All right. But thank you all for watching. And thank you so much also. Really interesting discussion, as usual, here on the News Roundup. Some really interesting points made by you guys. I really appreciate all of your participation in the News Roundup. Hold on a second. I need to get rid of somebody here. Hold on here. I don't know, it's just ridiculous. There we go. All right, and thanks to our viewers, Ken HTX, Annie Mari, Clara Lamb. Oh, Clara Lamb didn't know about the NFTs. Yes, NFTs is this new big thing. Dave NW, Salvatore, Princess Lise, or Les, one of the two. Lymphdem, Rockin' America, Dragon Lee, and our other Periscope viewers. Thanks for watching there. Thanks to our Twitch viewers. Cosmic Star Dream, Skaza, Broke MF Club, Farabute, Shaggy, Apocalypse No, Eva Merjam, S2M Green, Twitch Tweaker, and our other Twitch viewers. Thanks for watching there. Oh, and thanks again to Robin Cherry for the stars, for the Facebook stars. And thanks for watching, Robin. Thanks, Jeff Curry. Duster Singer, thank you, Duster, for watching. Robert Kennedy, Thomas O'Connor, Felix Christians, Maria Wed, and our other Facebook viewers. Thanks for watching there. Thank you also, Melissa McQueen, Mira, Astro Josh, The Princess, Salon Girl, Jeff Ha, Karen Brody, Darren Markley, Miss Sal, Christina, thanks for watching, Julie Aiken, Forrest Slap Happy 2, Diana L, I Hear Crickets, Im Seti, Jan Harker, Groboclone. Groboclone says, whether the EMA reapproves, the damage has already been done. Vaccine hesitancy will go through the roof. Kathy Williams, thanks for watching. Jock Bird. All right, guys. I am going, and Joanne Gabrielle, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. If there's big news tonight, I'll certainly come back on the air and cover it on Agenda Free TV. Maybe we'll do a stream on Lookner if there isn't big news. We will see, but I'm going to eat something now. All right, guys. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Twitter for news updates at Lookner, and we will see you soon with more live news coverage on Agenda Free TV and Agenda Free TV 2.